And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Flashback Comics. I am Troy David Phillips, and I am here in Woodbridge, Virginia. Today, I am going to give you some of my personal reading recommendations. A lot of times in the store, I'm asked questions. People want to know where to begin with something. Where should I start? I'm just getting into comics. There's so many things out there. It's overwhelming. It's very, very daunting. Some of these characters have histories that go on for 50 years, 60 years, 75 years. Where do I dig my feet in? And so I'm going to give you some of my recommendations. I'm going to give you a couple of Marvels that I think are really good, especially to get started. A couple of the DC books, again, especially to get started. And then a couple of things that are off the independent comic market. A couple of things that come from houses other than the big two. The first thing I'm going to hit you in the face with is Marvel's current ongoing Black Panther series. Now, you may have heard about this, the nationally sold out issue #1, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This storyline focuses on T'Challa, King of Wakanda, and we are coming in, bringing back to light the story elements from previous Black Panther series. Now, Wakanda, the fictional country in the Marvel Universe, is a country that has a strong economy built on vibranium, the fictional metal in the Marvel Universe. And the Black Panther's country, Wakanda, has never been conquered, has never known subjugation. But what it does know right now is a lot of political unrest, a lot of intrigue going on, because the Black Panther is also one of those characters who spends a lot of time outside the boundaries of his own country. Now, the Panther has been involved with the Avengers. The Panther has been involved with the Ultimates. Both of those titles I recommend reading. And while the Panther is gone, while the Panther is away from his country, his people wonder, where is our king? Why is our king absentee? And so these storylines are being brought back into crystal focus. The Panther is coming back, sitting on the throne, seeing how things are, and not liking what he sees. A lot of conflicts going on in this book. We are up to 6 issues, and the Black Panther is good for someone just getting started because it does not cross over into all of the other main books. Now, yes, the Black Panther is an Avenger. Yes, the Black Panther was previously married to Storm of the X-Men. Yes, the Black Panther is currently involved in the Ultimate series, but the Black Panther comic itself is cover to cover, a single narrative, and that is all that you really are required to read. So, get started with that. Not only are we up to the 6th issue, they have done a 3rd printing of the nationally sold out 1st issue, but they have also collected the first 4 issues into trade paperback form. So, if you would like to get a big chunk of story all at once, it is now possible. Black Panther, I strenuously recommend it. Now, my second recommendation for the Marvel titles is, again, a book that is a good standalone book. There are a lot of women reading comics these days, and they enjoy reading stories about female characters taking front and center. Well, there are several of these things right now. Spider-Gwen, for example, Silk, Spider-Woman, Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel. All of these things, however, do touch into other books. Captain Marvel is neck deep in the Civil War II story right now. Silk, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman just finished a crossover not very long ago and are themselves moving into the Civil War, especially Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. So, what do you read when you just want to start with one book? I strenuously recommend The Black Widow. Currently, The Black Widow is written by Mark Waid. It's illustrated by Chris Samney. Now, this is a creative team coming over from the pages of Daredevil. Daredevil, incidentally, is another good book without a lot of crossovers. It is brilliantly written by Charles Soule, and I love it. But coming back to the point, Black Widow. Black Widow, Mark Waid has moved back into the context of a former Avenger, a former member of S.H.I.E.L.D., and so her action, espionage-driven stories are contained nicely in the covers of her own book. So if you're not reading Civil War II, Black Widow is a great place to get started with. And that's 2 from Marvel. Let me give you a couple from the other side of the country. You might know that DC Comics moved their corporate offices out to the West Coast. What are they giving us these days? They're giving us a lot of things with their DC Rebirth. Now, the Rebirth logo you've seen on a lot of comic covers. Batman, Detective, Action, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, both Green Lantern titles, and so on. Let me recommend that you get started with, first, the Justice League. Now, the Justice League is a solid book that brings together 7 of the heavy-hitting characters from the DC universe, continuing the team up from the New 52 into the Rebirth era. We have this one conflict, and all of the characters that you're already familiar with are already there. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, 2 of the Green Lanterns, actually. You get both Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. I'll slip the name there. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, etc. I recommend picking that book up. The Justice League is a great way to get introduced and exposit on a lot of the main important core characters, we call them, of the DC universe. Another very good DC book that just got started comes actually from the DC Young Animals imprint, and it is Gerard Way's current iteration of the Doom Patrol. You might be familiar with the Doom Patrol all the way back from My Greatest Adventure and the 1960s into the 1970s series. You might be familiar with the Paul Kupperberg era or the Grant Morrison run, which was highly acclaimed. It's a wonderful series. This current series just dropped a week ago, so you haven't missed very much. I'd recommend running out and picking it up before it's all gone. The Doom Patrol does not spill into the other books. It's just now beginning its narrative, showing you snippets of the characters. Not a lot of exposition, so when you pick the book up and it seems a little disjointed, give it a little time to find its way. It's going to bring the characters together, and it's going to take them in kind of a quirky left-of-center direction. It's not your standard superhero fare, and that's the kind of story that is best for the Doom Patrol because they're not your standard superheroes. So, again, reviewing DC, check out Justice League, check out the Doom Patrol. And maybe look at some other Rebirth books too. I personally am a huge fan of Tom King's Batman, and I am absolutely loving the current storyline in The Flash, especially with the new villainous super speedster Godspeed. But that's not what you want to hear right now. You want to know what else to read that isn't Marvel and isn't DC. You don't want to get into the big shared universes. You don't want something from the big 2 corporate houses. Okay, well, let's take a look at Image Comics. Image Comics gives you a variety of titles of a variety of genres, and some amazing talent. Image is a good place to find Robert Kirkman and not only Walking Dead, but Outcast and Invincible. It's a great place to pick up something like the critically acclaimed Saga. It's also a good place to jump into some new hardcore nuts and bolts science fiction books. I personally recommend Kyle Higgins and Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall starts us off in space with a murder mystery. So it's got touches of a procedural, it's got some near future stuff, it's got some hardcore sci-fi, some pretty straight up nuts and bolts, not too ethereal in its concept, pretty well rooted, if not necessarily grounded. But Hadrian's Wall is definitely a book to check out. There are other companies, and you might have heard of companies like Boom and Aftershock and IDW. Well, let's see if we can't give you something to take you a little further in. I'm going to go to Jeff Lemire's book from Dark Horse Comics, and this is Black Hammer. I like Black Hammer for the same reasons that I like books like Mark Millar's Jupiter's Legacy, for the same reason that I've liked books like Mark Waid's Kingdom Come. It's a group of superheroes past their prime in a situation not of their own making. The world has kind of moved on without them, and as superheroes, they are trapped in a seemingly idyllic landscape, but this idyllic landscape is not a happy, perfect utopia. There's a touch of dystopia going on with this seemingly happy place. Jeff Lemire is a writer that I have enjoyed for his cerebral takes on things. He does a very good job with characters with kind of a mixed up sense of psychology. And he layers his elements on top of each other. So this book will engage you mentally. I think you'll find the characters interesting. And Black Hammer, while the characters might seem like familiar archetypes, they are not actually characters with an extensive history. So you can just jump in right here and plow along with the rest of us. Black Hammer, as of this moment, it is currently the 20th of September. Black Hammer is only on its second issue, so you have not missed very much. So there, from me to you, are 6 solid recommendations. You're new and you want to get started, and those are good places to get started. Come into the store and ask me questions, and I will happily recommend other things to you. Maybe you want some giant monsters. Maybe you want something that's hardcore murder mystery. Maybe you want something that blends several genres together in one place. Or maybe you really do want to go all the way down the rabbit hole and bring Civil War II down on your own head. We'll go through that. I'll help you get started. That guy. Ladies and gentlemen, that guy.